The United States now one step closer to taking military action against ISIS in Syria. President Obama has authorized air surveillance over Syria. And while that country says it will accept U.S. help fighting Islamist terrorists, Syria is warning the United States against taking unilateral action inside Syrian territory. I want to discuss this and some other issues now with Congressman Steve Cohen, a Democrat from Tennessee. Thanks so much for being with us here.
Nice to be here.
Let's talk about Syria first. The United States now conducting surveillance flights over Syria. Airstrikes could possibly follow. Would you support airstrikes against ISIS now?
I think ISIS is a definite problem for the world. They are desirous of setting up a caliphate that would be dangerous to our security and to free-thinking people everywhere. So I think it's important that we take action. And I think that the Defense Department and the President can come up with a strategy that will be harmful to ISIS and yet not necessarily favorable toward Assad.
Something like airstrikes.
Exactly. And I think we'll see them.
And quickly, you were caught last year when the United States was considering bombing the Syrian regime, going after Assad himself. You thought it needed congressional approval. Do you think any action against ISIS requires congressional approval?
I think it's different. I mean, ISIS does claim to be a state. Syria is a state. ISIS claims to be one. I would support the President's action, and I see no reason to come to Congress, because if he does, it'll just become a circus. Congress is dysfunctional, and no matter what the President does, the Republicans will oppose it and find reason to find fault. There's no reason to do that. This is the real world. I think about the evils that are present and the threats to our security, the problems in Ukraine, problems with Iran and nuclear armaments, the problems in the Middle East. We need to act, and we need to act with support our president.
It's interesting. Democrats also say it should get congressional approval as well. Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia is calling for a congressional vote on this subject.
There are some that will call for it, and I understand that, but I support the president. I think we need to take action, and I think Congress has become dysfunctional.
All right. I want to move on now to Ferguson, the shooting there. Michael Brown, 18 years old. His homegoing ceremony was yesterday. It was a very moving ceremony. Many people. I know this is an issue you've been thinking about a great deal over the last several weeks. I want to bring you up to speed on the latest news we're reporting at CNN. CNN has obtained alleged audio of what could be the moments that Michael Brown was shot. We haven't been able to verify the authenticity of it, but it is very interesting. I want you to take a quick listen.
You are pretty. You're so fine. Just going over some of your videos. How could I forget?
Now, you heard a man talking there. This was being recorded during some kind of video chat, but what you did hear in the background, according to our audio analysts, 10 shots fired could have been by the police officer if this is an authentic tape. We had heard before that Michael Brown was hit 6 times. Well,
the officer potentially could have missed, but the issue isn't really authenticity of the audio. It's the fact that African Americans are shot with police apparently not resorting to deadly force as a last means after exhausting all reasonable means of apprehension. I started my career as a police legal advisor and worked on police shootings. There are too many police shootings in this country. Police have a tough job, and I support the police, and we need that to have civil order. But there are too many killings, and this was a situation where a man was unarmed. He could have been tasered. He could have been shot in the leg. I know we all say you shoot in the middle of the cavity because that's the best target. It's the best target if you're apprehending a fleeing felon and there's a need to apprehend him because there could be a damn risk to somebody else down the line. But with Michael Brown, there was no risk to anybody. You could have just plastered his calves and stopped him.
You know, you brought up an interesting term there, exhausting all reasonable means. You have a lot of experience. You say you thought about this for years and years. You know, what does that mean at a national level? How do you get that discussion going?
Well, the Congressional Black Caucus, at the behest of Elijah Cummings, the congressman from Maryland, have suggested a police czar, somebody to give direction to police departments that get federal funding. There's a lot of federal funding in police departments. There could be better direction and better carrying out of the use of the federal funds, and I think that's a possibility.
Police czar sounds like federal central control at some level over local police forces, which traditionally have been...
It's not going to happen. Okay. Reality is the Republicans would never put it to a vote, but there needs to be more ties to grants, burn grants, and other grants to see that they're used for the proper purposes. The military equipment that's gone out is improper. I think some of the times policemen probably just like to shoot the M17s for sport. I mean, policemen, they've got a tough job. I support police, but at the same time, they like guns. A lot of people in America like guns.
You're suggesting the police just fire the guns at people for sport?
No, not at people, just recreational stuff. They don't. The M17s have hardly ever been used by a police department in this country. They were used as a stand-up tool to intimidate people in Ferguson. That's the only time I've seen them. I don't think they're actually used. I think people get them and then they go out and they use them for sport.
The president has called for a review of a lot of this military equipment that's been purchased or given to local police forces around the country. You want congressional hearings on this subject and others. What do you think the focus should be?
Well, the focus should be the necessity of it. I can see a possibility in some community where you have a terrorist situation. You could have an Oklahoma City, and there could be a standoff, and there could be a situation the police need some type of special equipment. Generally, in that situation, you're going to have the National Guard called out and take action. But there should be limitations on what any of that equipment could be used for, and there should be some certifiable need for the equipment in the community. One of my smaller communities, say 15 M17s. It's absurd.
Can I ask you, what do you think would be the one thing that could be done by Congress, by you maybe, that would keep us from having this conversation 1 year from now, where you would see another black kid shot at?
Well, I tried to do something about it in 2008. I introduced and passed a resolution for the United States apologizing for slavery and Jim Crow. It did not pass the Senate in the same form because Sam Brown backed language in that was unnecessary about reparations because it never dealt with that. I wanted to get a discussion of race in this country started. The president talked about it also in 2008 in Philadelphia. That discussion needs to have taken place. It's a shame it hasn't. It still needs to take place. And we need to have a major discussion on it. We need to take action. There is a real problem in America with differences in opinions and opportunities for people based on race. And African Americans have been redlined on capital, redlined on where they live, redlined on opportunity over the years. And there needs to be an effort to bring these people forward. We do a lot of things for people in foreign nations. We don't do enough for our own.
You're not saying an apology about Jim Crow would then change policing. You're saying this larger discussion on race would be the background to perhaps changing.
That's indeed. And the problem with policing is part of the problems has come through the years. I mean, it's been an institutional problem. 246 years of slavery, nearly 100 years of Jim Crow. And then after Jim Crow, it's been a slow slog. And we need more promise zone grants. We need more commutations from the president that I encourage him to do because we're warehousing people in prison as part of the drug war. The drug war was all basically race-based. Started with Hispanics in the 30s with Harry Anslinger, and then with Nixon it went to African Americans. There's a lot of problems based on race in this country and a lot of expense, too, and there's a lot of libertarians who get behind the argument as well.
Well, you bring up a lot of very, very big issues that certainly are a subject for discussion right now and need discussion going forward. Congressman Steve Cohen.
Thank you. And I want to mention something. I'm in this chair. The last time I was in this chair was with Andrew Cuomo, and I want to say that I think Cuomo and Jackie Rose, who handled a situation I was in a year ago, deserve an Emmy.
Chris Cuomo.
Chris Cuomo, I'm sorry. Yeah, Chris. They deserve an Emmy, and I award them an Emmy today. They acted professionally and responsibly.
We're big fans of theirs as well. Congressman, great to have you with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.